Welcome back to ILTV on the Hour. I'm Ladar Lazi, coming to you live from Israel, bringing you all the biggest headlines from across the region. It's day 13 of Operation Roaring Lion, the war with Iran, and these are all the latest developments. Overnight, Hezbollah launched more than 100 rockets at northern Israel in a massive barrage in what officials say was a coordinated attack with Iran. Sirens sounded across the north as projectiles struck multiple areas, including a direct hit on a home in the Upper Galilee. 5 people were injured, mostly from shock and flying debris. Emergency crews from Magen David Adom, United Hatzalah, and fire and rescue services were deployed across the region to treat the wounded, extinguish fires, and search for additional damage. The IDF says Hezbollah fired the rockets from southern Lebanon. The same time, Iranian projectiles triggered sirens in parts of central Israel and Judea and Samaria. Israeli officials say the military is now preparing for a possible expansion of attacks by both Hezbollah and Iran as tensions continue to escalate on multiple fronts. And in response, the Israeli military resumed intensive and ongoing airstrikes on Hezbollah targets in Beirut's southern suburbs, including the group's stronghold in the Dakhye. The IDF continues to strike Hezbollah terror infrastructure in Beirut with intense waves of attacks from the air and the sea. Among the targets struck terror infrastructure, weapons storage sites, Central Command headquarters, and the Air Force headquarters of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard in Beirut. So far, about 70 terror targets have been struck in the Beirut area alone, including approximately 50 high-rise buildings used by Hezbollah for terror activities. Several key operatives were also eliminated. Hezbollah placed its terror infrastructure in the heart of Beirut under the cover of the civilian population, and over the past week, the IDF ordered the evacuation of residents from most of the Dakhye district in order to protect their safety. And as the war with Iran entered its 13th day with Israel, carrying out some of its most direct strikes yet inside the Iranian capital. The IDF says dozens of Air Force fighter jets struck key regime targets across Tehran and western Iran, including Revolutionary Guard Air Force headquarters, command and control centers, ballistic missile storage sites, and air defense positions. Additionally, the IDF struck a compound inside the IRGC's central military university, known as Imam Hussein, which the IDF says was being used by regime forces to coordinate operations and hold command meetings. The military also struck storage and production sites for ready-to-launch ballistic missiles, including missiles intended to target Israeli aircraft operating over Iran. And at the same time, Israel targeted internal security forces, including besieged bases and the headquarters of Iran's intelligence ministry, the regime's primary domestic surveillance and repression agency. Iran's semi-official media reports several besieged and security personnel were killed at checkpoints in northern and southern Tehran. The IDF says the strikes are part of a new phase of the campaign aimed at, quote, deepening the blow to the core systems of the Iranian regime. And meanwhile, tensions along the Strait of Hormuz continue. Iran is now warning that ships must seek its permission before passing through the strait, a threat that could further escalate the global energy crisis. The head of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Navy, Alireza Tangziri, said vessels that ignore Iranian warnings risk running into trouble in the strategic waterway. He cited ships that attempted transit this week and were targeted by Iranian forces. Iranian officials also warned that if Iran's ports are targeted, ports and docks across the region could become legitimate military targets. The U.S. military has meanwhile been removing naval mines in the strait, but has not escorted commercial shipping. About a fifth of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas normally passes through the strait. The U.S. says it destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels so far, while President Trump has demanded Tehran remove mines or face military consequences. And that's all the time we have at this hour, but follow us every hour here on ILTV for the latest updates on the region and keep up with us on social media. I'm Ladar Lazi. Thanks for watching.